Hello everyone and welcome to PendulumEdu, and here in this session I am back with another vocabulary session for you guys right here. So we are going to discuss a new set of words here with you guys, and as I always say that this is going to be helpful in various government exams, whether I talk about banking, SSC, defense or any civil services exam. So you guys have to be well prepared. So for that we explain you the article word by word, and we give you amazing words here. Amazing words, which means they are contextual, which are much needed, okay, in which you need to understand the context of the passage or the article that's there. So without wasting time, let's get started with today's session. The article for today heads as Dead Letter on Child Referendum. Dead letter, or something that is of no use. It's a phrase, okay, of no use, of no impact. Like any legal statement that has come up which has no impact, there's no effect of the same, that particular law or legal aspect is termed as a dead letter. So on child referendum is a noun, alright, which means a direct vote. Now here the direct vote, it is like when all the electorate come together. It is a direct vote wherein all electorates, they come together and they vote for a particular purpose. Now this is known as in Hindi जन मत संग्रह, है ना. सारे लोग साथ आकर एक बात के लिए अपना जो है एक मत वोट जब देते हैं. So child referendum पर it has come out to be a dead letter. उसका कोई इफेक्ट नहीं है, उसको लागू करने का शायद कोई फायदा नहीं हो रहा या बेनिफिट नहीं हो रहा. So we are going to see what the writer has said. Chileans have given themselves a chance to chart out an inclusive constitution. To chart out, that is to plan out an inclusive constitution. They have given themselves a chance. खुद को तो भाई सबने मिलके डिसाइड किया होगा डेफिनेटली कि वो एक नया इंक्लूसिव कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन चाहते हैं. लास्ट ईयर व्हेन चाइल्ड वाज शेकन बाय मास प्रोटेस्ट, the conservative president Sebastian Pinera, now remember this, conservative president Sebastian Pinera agreed to hold a referendum on rewriting the country's constitution. So what is the plan? The plan is to rewrite the entire constitution of the country, and the president, conservative president, he has asked to come up for a referendum so that people can come together and they can give a vote. They can give through the vote they can signify, or they can come up with a voice whether they want it or not, or do they agree about it or not. Introduced during the military dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet in a bid for calm. In a bid for calm मतलब कि शांति या पीस को बनाए रखने का एक जरिया था, तो उन्होंने इस कोशिश में ये चीज़ किया. On Sunday, 78% of Chileans voted in favor of replacing the charter. Replacing the charter. Charter. What is charter? It is a noun. It is a legal grant or a written grant, okay, by the court or by the government. So इसको हम कहते हैं आधिकारिक पत्र, ठीक है, जो आपको एक अधिकार देता है उस चीज़ का, जो ग्रांट मिलती है आपको, which the protesters say was the main hurdle in introducing social economic reforms with the new document. Hurdle is a noun, guys. Hurdle is a noun which means obstruction. हिंदी में कहते हैं ना रुकावट. So there are many people or protesters who say that the charter was the main hurdle, or 78% people, when they agreed in favor of replacing the charter, that was the main hurdle. That was the main obstruction when it comes to the introduction of the social economic reforms with a new document, because people were in favor of replacing the charter, the written grant that they have got. Also, the writer further says, since its transition to democracy in 1990, Chile has amended the constitution, principally written by Pinochet aide Jaime Guzman and approved in a fraudulent plebiscite in 1980. Now see what happened in Chile. When it got its democracy in 1990, it amended its constitution, okay, and the constitution was written by Pinochet aide and Jaime Guzman, and this was approved like fraudulently, illegally या चोरी से इसको approve कराया गया था. So fraudulently is an adverb which I wanted to explain, but fraudulent use here is an adjective, okay, which means by wrong means. So it was fraudulent, okay. कहते ना धोखाधड़ी, in Hindi we say धोखाधड़ी. So वो चीज़ किया था उन्होंने through plebiscite in 1980. Plebiscite, what is plebiscite? It's a noun. It is equivalent to referendum. This is another word for referendum. Okay, so in fraudulent referendum in 1980, they got the constitution approved illegally to take away many of its anti-democratic features. Now this was done to take away or to shun the anti-democratic features that were there. But the document which has enshrined the conservative free market philosophies, enshrined which has preserved. Enshrine is a verb which means preserve or revere. किसी चीज को बनाए रखना, किसी चीज को संजो के रखना, बनाए रखना या फिर संजो के रखना. Okay, that is okay. So this is what is enshrined. So what has the document enshrined? That it has which has enshrined, it has enshrined conservative free market philosophies, the philosophies or the regulations for the free market. It has enshrined, it has preserved that. These the philosophies were by Milton Friedman School, and it stayed on like it was there only. It allowed the private sector to thrive and help the economy expand. So it allowed the private sector to thrive, which means to prosper, and the economy to expand, which means it got spread. It got more extended and advanced. But it also led to the concentration of wealth in a minuscule minority. Minuscule, okay, I'm going to wipe off the screen and then explain it to you. Alright. Minuscule, guys, minuscule is an adjective, and as you can see, it's an adjective because it is qualifying the noun subject minority. So the minority has been said to be minuscule. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? Minuscule का मतलब very small, okay? A small part. So you can see, जिसे हम हिंदी में कहते हैं अत्यंत छोटा, ठीक है? Something that's really small. So it says that it also led to concentration of wealth in a minuscule minority. Like for when we are talking about the private sector, when we are talking about free market philosophy, here what happened was there was a small minority or a section of society wherein the entire wealth or the earning went to that section, and they got concentration of wealth, which means they got you can say ostentatiously wealthy. This triggered social tensions. So what happened, because of one section, and that to a minority section, getting a whole lot of wealth, people in the society started like getting bothered about it. Like, this is obvious, anybody would be bothered how this instantly could, how is it possible that this instantly happened. Protests erupted last year over a small rise in metro fares, but it soon snowballed into a public agitation demanding reforms. Snowball is a verb. Snowball is a verb which means to increase. Okay, बढ़ना. So when I say snowball, so whatever protests they were there for metro fares, when they increased the metro fares, there was a protest, and this immediately increased into or changed or transformed into public agitation. Itna bad gaya ye sab. Which demanded reforms. What were the reforms? Abolition of private pension fund system implemented by General Pinochet, an increase in investments in education and healthcare, and a strengthening of rights of indigenous communities. Indigenous is an adjective which means local communities, जो कि स्वदेशी हैं. So they say that you have to strengthen the rights of the local community, local people there in child. This is one, healthcare education, number two, and they wanted the private pension fund system to be abolished completely. So there were these reforms that they started demanding, and there was public agitation, which means people were there protesting on road, and everyone was aggressive. So this is another thing that, amid one thing, there are other things that come sum up. What happens is, अगर कोई एक agenda उठाए and there's protest going on, लोग अपना agenda भी पूरा करने के लिए वहाँ जुड़ जाते हैं और फिर चीजें और बढ़ जाती हैं. Moving ahead, the writer says the protesters also demanded an overhaul of the constitution. Overhaul is a verb, though here it's used as a noun. Overhaul means complete transformation. So they were asking for transformation. हिंदी में हम कहते हैं काया पलट. पूरी तरीके से वो चाहते थे कि constitution बदल जाए, as it was impossible to introduce far-reaching reforms with the current charter, with the current plan, with the current thing. It is impossible. So they want constitution to be reformed, to come up with new reforms. With Sunday's plebiscite results, they have won the first stage. So first stage has been won, and probably they have got the grant. And the next stage would be replacing the constitution. Is going to be a 2-year process. It's not a small time. Next year, Chileans will elect a 155-member assembly to draft the new document. So all the people in the child, they have to elect 155-member assembly which would draft the new document, which will then be put to a plebiscite in 2022. Half the delegates will be women. Now this is important, okay? Political factions. Now faction is a noun which means section or part. Okay, किसी चीज का हिस्सा, एक group, तो गुट जिसे हम कहते हैं. Okay? So political groups are still debating whether seats in the assembly should be reserved for the indigenous groups. Should they reserve the seats for the local people, local groups, local communities which are native of them? So indigenous is an adjective which means native of or local. I just explained you formally in the passage. It may not be a smooth process given that different political factions represent different ideas and interests. Now the writer says that coming up with a new or completely transformed, or you can say an overhauled constitution, it won't be that easy as it seems, because different people from different political parties, they will have different interests, they will have different ideas, different thought processes. So bringing all of them together and having unanimity or having a unanimous say. Okay, unanimous का मतलब एक मत. So having unanimous say, which means एक मत, एक जैसा, similar, or okay. So it won't be that easy. The new constitution is also expected to be a heated political issue, with the general elections next year. But despite the political and procedural challenges, it offers a fresh opportunity for child to say goodbye to a dark era. So the former part, they can say goodbye to it, and child may have a brighter future with the new constitution to look forward to. Moving ahead, the writer also says that General Pinochet came to power in 1973 after a US-backed coup against Chile's elected president Salvador Allende. So he came to power in 1973. In the 17 years he was in power, Pinochet, who died in 2006, unleashed a reign. Unleashed, it's a verb which means he opened. Okay, उन्होंने खोल इस एक क्या खोल दिया था? He opened a reign of terror, resulting in the executions of thousands and detention and torture of many more. So he was the one who used to rule. His basic of rule was fear and terror. He probably used to torture. There were executions of thousands of people, and people were tortured or they were detained. The biggest problem with President Constitution has been its origins. So origins you now know. Now, through a democratic process, Chileans can bury the document and introduce a legitimate charter, legal charter. They can have something that is legal, something that is acceptable instead of the this rule. That is, they have termed which rule? The President Constitution. So instead of the President Constitution, they want a democratic constitution, which is an imperative for any modern democracy. Imperative, necessary. Okay, it's an adjective. Zaruri. Alright. For any modern democracy. It also offers them an opportunity to right the systemic wrongs of the past and chart out a more inclusive economic and social system that works not just for the government elites. Elite is a noun which means a group of superiority, like of high position, okay? Elite group. And the business classes, but also for all the Chileans. So they say that it should not be just for the government officials or people who are of business classes, but for middle classes, for all the people in Chile. It should be viable, and it should be an inclusive economic and social system for every individual there in Chile. So this is the entire article, and this is what is the position or the talks in Chile. So this is another news from the world, and these are the words that we had to discuss with you guys today. So guys, I would again suggest you start practicing, and to practice you have to go to the description, go to the link, and you can go to the site right there for the word list. And as I always say, do not forget to subscribe to the channel to have regular sessions with us. I hope you guys are attending the crash course session, because this session for SSC CGL2 Tier 2, it will do wonders for you, because मैंने आपसे कहा था कि this session for CGL Tier 2 we are doing for like on the basis of concepts and not on the basis of the grammar, vocabulary and everything. On the basis of concept, we have given you, we have highlighted the major concepts that have major weightage for your examination. Alright, so I will see you soon in the next session. Till then, keep learning and growing, and not to forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.